And welcome back. Our next topic is natural law theory. This is something that has deep roots in antiquity and medieval times, but also considerable contemporary influence. We'll start tackling it by some really fundamental metaphysics, so take a deep breath. And here we go. According to this kind of thinking, all things, all beings have a telos, which is Greek for end, destination, purpose, or aim. This is something that applies to inanimate things as well as to living beings. Heavy objects aim to go down and light objects aim to go up. If I let go of a pen in my hand, it usually drops, being a heavy object. If I let go of a balloon, it usually goes up, being a light object. Plants, which are the lowest form of life, live, feed, and propagate. So they live, they take and use nutrients, and they have offspring. Animals are the next level of life, and in addition to the things that plants do, they also, as their special feature, move toward pleasure and shun away from pain. Here again we are talking about one philosopher and his theory. Aristotle lived in ancient Greece. He was the most successful pupil of Plato, you may have heard of him. He founded his own philosophical school called Lyceum, and he was for years Alexander the Great's tutor. So we are talking about someone who already in his own time was pretty influential. Anyway, continuing the story, human beings are highest up in the hierarchy. They are living and moving beings, and that means that they have plant and animal souls for the lower functions. Like plants and animals, they aim to survive, get nourishment, have children, and bring them up. Or to be more precise, sometimes they don't. Not everyone has children, but even then they somehow normally should aim to have all these things. This is a genuinely confusing point in Aristotle's view. He seems to blur the distinction between what is a descriptive question and what should be a normative question. The same confusion is a part of the entire natural law theory, and we'll get into that in a moment. But at this point we make an 1100-year jump to Thomas Aquinas, a medieval European philosopher and theologian who, in the main, agreed with Aristotle. They both stated that human beings, in addition to having their plant and animal sides, are also practically and theoretically rational. They balance, or they should balance, living, feeding, and having a family, the practical dimension, with the theoretical pursuit of seeking knowledge of nature and of God. So this takes us to their buzz phrase, acting according to the natural law or acting according to our telos, our end and goal. But how can we manage that? The solution is outsourcing. Practically reasonable experts know how we can reach our telos. They know what the primary human goods are, and they know how these can be achieved in the most efficient way. The primary human goods, according to one contemporary version of natural law theory, are life, knowledge, play, aesthetic experience, sociability or friendship, practical reasonableness, and religion. This list is made by a Roman Catholic natural law theorist called John Finnis. But we have seen something very much like it before. To make the connection, let's go back to the map of the theories of justice. And to Martha Nussbaum and her list of capabilities which Professor Mäkinen distributed and you applied in an assignment. The resemblance is obvious. Life, bodily health, bodily integrity, senses, imagination and thought, emotions, practical reason, affiliation, other species play control over one's environment. The wording is at places different, but the list is essentially the same as John Finnis's Roman Catholic catalogue. But this is a small puzzle. With Aristotelian and teleological theories we should be on the left side of the map of justice, far away from Martha Nussbaum and the capabilities theory. The explanation might be in the spread of teleology marked in red everywhere. I told you about this earlier. Teleological theories of ethics are in many ways the original European doctrines. All others are somehow connected to them, and this is why there may be traces of teleology wherever you look. Nussbaum herself declared at some point that she is a liberal feminist Marxist Aristotelian. This would place her in the oval marked in the map, and it may explain her popularity. There is something for almost everyone in her theory. As I will explain to you in our final lecture session, this makes Nussbaum's theory quite similar to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals ideology, and they suffer from the same problems. But enough of that, and let's return to the pure Aristotelian and teleological theories, and this time more precisely to Aristotle's original virtue ethics, which is the last of the 6 ethical theories that I promised to outline for you today. The core of his theory is that our aim is to live a good life in a just society. Happiness, in the sense of more pleasure than pain, is important, but a truly good life is a virtuous life. This is what Aristotle believed to be our true telos as social beings. Virtue means keeping a golden mean between extremes. In emotions, attitudes, and actions, too much is not good. And similarly, too little or not enough is not good either. Virtuousness is a result of successful education. Children begin by imitating virtuous action, but then they also begin to see why it's good. If this fails, the result is weakness of the will, which means that inclinations take over and practical reason is sidetracked, or viciousness, which means going perversely against the good life. Aristotle gave some interesting and at times surprising examples of virtues and vices. Here is a list. Let me comment a few of them for you. Courage as a good balance between fear and confidence is easily understandable. Too little fear and too much confidence makes you rash. Too much fear and too little confidence makes you cowardly. On the subject of pleasures and pains, later Christian teaching disagreed strongly with Aristotle. The Christian Church taught that there can never be too little lust for pleasure. You should get rid of it all to be truly virtuous. Well, Aristotle disagreed. Next up are liberality and magnificence. I am bringing them up because they are somehow so different and wonderful virtues. Both in small and big affairs, I should give and take in moderation, not too much, not too little, so that I cannot be accused of being mean or tasteless. Good advice, I'm sure, but something that we are used to categorize as manners rather than morality these days. The vice of pusillanimity may not be among the first to pop into our minds either, but it too is quite insightful. When it comes to receiving major honors or dishonors, to embrace them too little would be as wrong as vainly embracing them too much. Anima, the root of the word, means soul, so the deficiency of proper pride means literally that the person has a small soul. Similarly, we should express our wonderfulness with proper modicum and be truthful concerning our virtues. Being too modest or too boastful, blowing our own horn, are not admirable character traits. That done, now for the general instructions for using teleology. Both natural law and virtue ethics are context sensitive. Our telos can be promoted differently in different circumstances. What is brave in one context may be rash in another. So feel free to use in the assignment your practical reasonableness and consider the significance of the social environment. As for natural law theorists, they cannot really stray from primary goods. Since human life is sacred, human life is always sacred. It should never be taken. As the same applies to all the others, I am sure that you are beginning to see the problem shared with Nussbaum's capabilities and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. If play is necessary, then it should also be guaranteed, always. But what if life and play are in conflict? It all becomes a huge balancing act, so you must again use your practical reasonableness. Virtue ethicists in their turn must set to an extent their own premises. In the assignment case, what is the activity or feeling that the agent in the case could have overdone or underdone? Some relevant activities and feelings can be found in Aristotle's list, but there may be others, and you can also score points by finding or inventing them yourself. So this is your law table when you do teleology.